This is the shortest stretch of the Southern Upland Way, and here along Moffat Water it can feel fairly gentle. But Dumfriesshire, Clydesdale and Tweeddale does have some of the route's most demanding sections. And when it comes to politics, some here are demanding more. David Mandel's held this seat for the Scottish Conservatives since it was formed. He's pledging to stand against independence and for Brexit. But he used to back Remain and wrote to Theresa May last year saying any border in the Irish Sea or different arrangements for Northern Ireland would be unacceptable. Both of those lines have been crossed in Boris Johnson's Brexit deal. You didn't support Boris Johnson. Would the honourable thing to do not have been to resign?
What Boris Johnson has brought forward is a deal that allows the whole of the United Kingdom as one to leave the EU, and that the other alternative of leaving without a deal was the thing that would be most damaging to the United Kingdom as a whole. But it sounds like you're saying it's the best of a bad bunch. What I'm saying is that it's a deal that is good for the whole of the UK because it keeps the UK together. In this constituency we've got a comparatively old population. A number of the other parties led by Labour have outlined what they will do to support the so-called WASPy women who feel hard done by the changes to the state pension age. Yourselves, the Conservatives, are doing nothing to help them. That's not the case. I feel very sympathetic towards the so-called WASPy women, but I'm not going to make a false promise. The Southern Upland Way then takes us on a tough climb. Tucked away in the Lowther Hills at the meeting point of three valleys, Loghead is the highest village in Scotland and home to some of its most spectacular views. It's where we meet the SNP's Amanda Borgauer. She says her charity work, including with Scottish Rural Action, gives her a unique understanding of local issues. But her party wants independence. In 2014, some 65% of people here voted against. Is this election about independence?
No. I mean, I'm a member of the Scottish National Party. Obviously, I think people will gather from that I am pro-independence. But this election needs to be dealt with first.
But Nicola Sturgeon has said she wants a second independence referendum next year. So when people are voting for you, that's part of what they're voting for.
I think it's very important that we say to people, if they lend us their vote, we won't be using that to say that they are necessarily pro-independence. 2 referendums next year, is that a good idea or a bad idea? I think I would look at that in terms of the long term. What kind of future do you want over the next 20 years? Because these are the issues that are going to decide what kind of country we are for the next 20 years. If that takes 2 referendums in a year, I think the opportunity for us to exercise our democratic rights to decide that are probably worth it.
Time for a break in Scotland's highest pub. Both independence and Brexit come up regularly, but they're not the only topics served up.
Thank you, James.
Always health. We've just recently lost our doctor coming to the village.
I'd say the most important issues are primarily healthcare and education.
Labour finished third here in 2017. Their candidate, Nick Chisholm, says climate change should be given more attention and IndyRef 2 put on the back burner. Even if you need SNP support to form the next government, you would not accept IndyRef 2 next year?
Absolutely not. And it's been stated a number of times.
I could let the Conservatives in.
No, that would be the SNP letting the Conservatives in. Now, if we have to form a form of coalition or some form of arrangement with the SNP, that's fine.
And that could mean IndyRef 2 in 2021 after the Holyrood election, if they get that pro-independence majority.
I think that is something that has to be put down the road. We have to deal with the current constitutional crisis first.
A Labour councillor very close to here, Jim Dempster, was suspended by the party after he admitted making Islamophobic comments about an SNP MSP. More than a year and a half on, he is still suspended. That investigation is still ongoing. Is that acceptable?
No. I think Both political parties have to deal with this. I think any member of parliament or any serving person in their private life or in their public life makes comments that are Islamophobic or anti-Semitic should go.
Next up, the Lib Dems' John Ferry, who we meet in Sanka. He says victory would give them a mandate to cancel Brexit. Is it not exactly the same with the SNP when it comes to independence? If they go in being very transparent about the fact that they want India F2 next year, if they win in Scotland, they have a mandate for that.
No, because this is a Westminster election. The SNP obviously can't win this election at Westminster. They're never going to have a majority there.
But if the SNP win this election in Scotland and then win Holyrood 2021, you could not possibly deny them another independence referendum.
I think there's a very, very good democratic reason to say that there's a difference, a fundamental difference between 2014 and 2016.
In your campaign video, you say Labour and the SNP are plotting a partnership. Is that not a bit rich, given the Lib Dems worked with the Conservatives to impose a decade of austerity?
Look, I joined the Liberal Democrats in 2014. I'm standing here now 10 years after the stuff that happened 10 years ago, and this is me and the party that we are today putting forward a position that I think is credible and reasonable.
As the winter sun sets on Sanka, this stretch of our journey along the Southern Upland Way comes to an end. We'll continue on to Dumfries and Galloway as the candidates continue canvassing for your vote. Greg Hoare, ITV News, Dumfriesshire, Clydesdale and Tweeddale.